Hello, and welcome to the Unleashed Games playtest. We come to you weekly with our active game development so that you can keep up with what we're building and why, and also give us your live feedback as we play it together. We are a game development startup in a very early stage. In fact, we've only taken a pre-seed investment, and we are actually currently fundraising for a seed investment to be able to bring this game to more and more people. But what we do every week is we play test our game dev. And what that means is that we show you the ugly, we show you the early, we show you the stuff that hasn't been built yet, or stand-ins, gray boxes, as we like to call them in game dev, so that you can see where we're headed and maybe help give us some ideas on where we should go next. This is really important in game development, and this is something that a lot of game developers usually don't do. We usually kind of close up behind doors and develop for years at a time without actually showing what we're working on. And then we kind of roll the dice like a roulette table and hope that y'all like it. Thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome, and I hope you come back. We stream every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Eastern. And there's actually something, before we jump into everything, I wanted to kind of address, because there seems to be a little bit of blowback over a tweet that I made earlier this week. I said something and then it kind of got turned into something else, and then it became even bigger than I ever anticipated or ever wanted. So in full acknowledgement that I might have stepped in something and upset a few people, let's just address the elephant in the room. And that is the fact that we are a game in early development. We've only really built this prototype over the since last summer. It was 7 months of hard development, and then we've been polishing for GDC ever since. But we don't have every feature in our game. There's a lot more that we want to add and that we are nowhere near. But what we have done is we have built a prototype. And what that means in the whole game development cycle, you go prototype to alpha to early access, closed beta to open beta to release. So we're way back at the infancy of the process. So the things that we want, like our character creator, literally don't exist. We had to put in kind of straightforward characters just to be able to test our gameplay. We started out with just our classes. We have a mage, we have a healer, and we have a warrior. And one of the things that we wanted to prove that it was fun to play as 3 different roles. And
that was
we could go around in group.
I've got it muted.
Go take dungeons, or take on dungeons, take on fights, and then take on bosses. And that is what we built for our GDC demo. We actually intend to have one of the most incredible character creators ever seen in games, and one in particular where we have Gen AI to be able to literally take your face and put it on your character. But we're not there yet. We literally don't have enough money to do that. We're raising that money. So if you know any investors, please send them our way. I'm happy to take calls. But we haven't built it yet. We want players to be able to represent themselves in our game. That's it. Or configure something that looks nothing like you. But the point is that we don't want to exclude anybody from being able to play our game. We actually want to have the most inclusive character creator, so that if you want to be blue, you can, but it just won't look ugly, right? I mean, we did that at Blizzard. We want to be able to create that level of creativity, or offer that level of creativity to our players. So please don't hold out on us yet. We've got a lot more to go and a long road ahead of us to build the game that we imagine. But I still want to apologize for the joke that I made and how it landed poorly. So please, understand that I never meant to exclude anybody whatsoever from our game. That's exactly the opposite of what our intent is, because we are making games to bring people together. And this team of experts, these champions, these amazing warriors at my back, are some of the greatest human beings that I've ever been able to make games with. And the capability of these gentlemen is demonstrative of the incredible industry that we have. But unfortunately, that industry is very male. That's the reality. And it has been for most of my career. In fact, I was often the first woman on a team. And thankfully, I paved the way for more women. And I just celebrate the fact when more women can realize their dream and participate in games. We want to be a part of the community. We're not taking away from the community because we're, you know what, we're pretty awesome. And we add awesome ideas. So let's just move forward in a game and helping us build, like keep coming back every single week to give us feedback. Because what we've done here and what we want to share with you today is what we showed at GDC. And we actually have an incredible guest joining us today on our playtest to go through this demo, to be our little our demo-ee as we take through the game experience. We have joining us is Tips Out, CEO of OTK. Thank you so much, Tips, for joining us. I'm going to add you to the stage right now. Here we go. Hey, Tips.
Hey, Arena, how's it going?
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Been really looking forward to playing this game. We spoke, a few months back about it for the first time, and glad to be backing and finally getting my hands on this thing.
Yeah, and note to the audience, what he said is backing. Tips is actually one of our early angel investors. So thank you so much, Tips, for your belief in us and belief in what it is that we're building. And we're so excited to show you what we've built with that money.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Let's get in there. So Tips, we're going to be following you. Would you mind getting you live and your screen shared? There we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Haven. You have spawned into a dark wood. What's going on? Can you just narrate your way through the experience?
Yeah, basically, I just logged in front of this campfire right here. In this kind of little narrow, grove, and it looks like I've got a little tent here. This is probably my campsite. I created a male warrior, and it looks like I've got my ability bar down here. A bunch of different abilities: attack, inflamed temper, looks like a taunt, burning hammer, some kind of potential AoE, or sorry, not AoE. It looks like some kind of dot, burning dot. And yeah, it looks like I got my inventory here. I might have sped up a little bit and killed a mob off screen. I apologize, but I looted some potions and wood and stuff like that. And yeah, it's very reminiscent to me of like a combination of WoW and Valheim so far. So looking forward to this because those are two amazing games.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that's a great call out. Like, could you just feedback on the controls and moving around? Like, how does it feel?
It feels very smooth, very similar to those that have played WoW, for example. I'm going to use a lot of WoW references because like I'm a big WoW nerd, but very similar. You kind of got that. You can double click on your left and right mouse and kind of move around, similar to WoW. It's very tactile. There's a lot of very quick feedback and response time. Very fluid so far for a build this early. And actually, I remember watching a playtest last night, just kind of ahead of today, and the build here is pretty early. How long have you guys been working on this?
So we actually started when we were accepted into Speedrun 1. Our first code check-in was May 22nd of last year.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, like for less than a year of development, like this is a lot more progress than I typically see from early stage development games. So yeah, no, I'm excited. And it looks like we got somebody right here.
Oh yeah, we got trouble. I'm gonna summon into you or teleport into you. Go to your village. Here we go. We have little cheats in here. So where you are right now is actually a stand-in for what we call our village. And the village is kind of a reductive word because a village will progress along with the people who move in. But you start off with a individual plot. Every one of these beacons, as you're seeing around, like the yellow, the red, and the blue one, those represent an individual plot for a player. You can build a house there. You can build anything there. And a house in particular is very important because it gives you a rested buff, very similar to Valheim. So if you run over to this house, let's go hang out really close by, because a house gives you a rested buff. And you can see your buffs are up there near your health bar and your mana bar. You'll start off with just a resting buff. And then that just tells you that you're in range of the house. But here's the gameplay intent. It's like you start off with a base house and it gives you a rested buff for the sake of this demo is 15 minutes. But as you upgrade your house and customize your house, that buff and its qualities will change. So like say you build in certain features to your house, it'll give a greater ice bonus or a greater intelligence boost. How you configure your house affects the buff that it gives. So everybody in the neighborhood will have a different buff depending on what you're going out to do. So there's a lot of gameplay space there. And you can even see we have a rudimentary version of the customization. Like if we built a house, you could actually break down the walls, reconfigure the whole thing. Our intent is to allow you to literally aesthetically build it. This is a UGC space. We want players to UGC the ultimate like guild village together.
Got it. That's super cool. So depending on the type of house, the structure, it affects the buff that I get. And
yep.
I can build the houses on these different beacons. And this looks like a shared area between, people on the same server or my clan, or what exactly? How does that work?
Well, yeah. So this is right now, this is a shared space, but the goal is to create villages and you move in together with other players. And this is almost like the locker room at a soccer game, right? You're all powering up and you do all sorts of like asynchronous activities. Say I'm an alchemist in terms of my trade skills. I get to really focus on get potions ready for everybody, but somebody else is going to be roasting food and whatnot, because we're going to be on Thursday night hitting this swamp zone and taking on a boss there.
Got it. Okay, cool.
All right. So one of the things that we do want to do is we want to use this shared space, because there's not only individual buildings, there's also shared buildings, which is represented by our arcane mill. In the lower right-hand corner, there's a hammer icon. And that you'll get a build menu. You can build all sorts of things. Like, in fact, I might build a snowman because why not? But why don't you drop a arcane mill somewhere? Where do you want to put it?
Should I put it right on top of this purple beacon?
I don't think you can.
Okay.
There you go.
Right next to the house. Right there. Oh,
cool.
This is.
It won't let you?
I think.
Wait till the build button should turn like bright green. So put it closer to the beacon, maybe.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh, there you go. You're right.
Awesome. Again, it's a kind of a demo space at this point, but this is where we talk about our shared buildings, because this building actually unlocks crafting. So we need to put stuff in, some resources in order to be able to build the building. So if you double click on the foundation, do you have any of that stuff?
It looks like I have one of the stones here, the rocks, and I've got some wood.
All right. So why don't you double click on those and hit add? Try double click on the wood as well. Add that. And we still need some clay. So there's only one way for us to get some clay, and that's to go on an adventure. Would you like to go on an adventure, Tips?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. All right, awesome. So before we go out on an adventure, we have 3 classes represented. You're a warrior. And in position number 6, you actually have a buff. It's Crucible of Flame, I believe.
Yes.
I want you to buff everybody, because we need to use your buff. Your buff actually gives us double health and double mana, whereas my buff increases your damage. And so I'm going to buff everybody myself. And does everybody, and then, so that's my mage buff. And then Brian over here is a healer. He's got his own buff. And Chris, don't build that. Chris, stop building. You totally undercut the demo, dude. All right, fine. we're flexible, we're agile. Hey, check out your new arcane mill. Hi, Chris.
Thank you. This is huge.
Yeah, this is again an example of one of our shared buildings. This we can all use. And we made the requirements to build it really short just for the sake of the demo. But the intention is that it's going to take some work and some resource gathering from all of the players of your village. Like this is an RTS style tech tree where you unlock more functionality, more classes, more spells, more items, and even potentially NPCs that you can have move into your village with this system.
Awesome, man. There's a blacksmith here with like a quest icon or question mark over his head.
Yep. That's kind of, again, very rudimentary placeholder, right? But you can kind of see the intent of where we're going with what this building behaves like.
Awesome.
But we do need to go on an adventure. So I just got to make sure everybody's buffed. I think so. And if you double click on this beacon, this is like a town portal to the adventure spaces, which is a little bit of a different kind of place. Let's travel, friend.
Adventureland. Here we go.
Yeah. So welcome to Adventureland. Adventureland is actually a generated space. This place is generated on the fly for anywhere from like 5 to 100 players. And this will persist until all of the objectives are pretty much cleared. Your quest objectives are here, your gathering objectives are here, but we're using AI and procedural generation to create like content on demand for what you need. But this is also the place where you're going to meet other players. So imagine like in Valheim, if you're wandering out in the wilderness, but you'll run into other people. Like how cool would that be?
That's awesome. And when the objectives are done for each location, the location closes up. And so when you go back,
never to be seen again.
Got it. Okay, cool. So like every adventure is like a new experience, basically.
Absolutely. It is a dynamic adventure machine that we're building.
Got it. Sweet.
But in this space will be dungeon entrances and quests and NPCs to find and bring home. And also resource nodes. So we got to find those resource nodes to do some crafting.
Ooh, I see. Okay. Doing some mining here.
Yeah. But here we've got a nice group of us, and I think we can actually split apart because we probably own this entire place. This is tuned for like 3 people.
Sure.
But hey, we've got a nice little group here. And again, you can see our characters. Like our characters are very rudimentary. They're just stand-ins for the class to make them look different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've got a nice group of heroes here. Thanks, chat. Love it. But it's funny. We had all female characters in for most of development, and like right before GDC, I was like, can we just please try to get the male characters in? Because that would just be weird if we showed up with only female characters as an option. So they did it. I mean, amazing. Good job. But yeah, our art style, we're going for like cell shaded animated. We want you to feel like you're playing through an animated TV series.
I love that. I love stylized graphics. I'm not a fan of the super hyper realism, so I think that's a great approach. Yeah,
we think it's timeless. I mean, that was this philosophy over at Blizzard, right? Is doesn't look aged if you have your own look. And that's the style that Tom Ang is really honing in on. I'm so excited. But like the vibe of this zone, the intent is to like make it creepy, and you have to like light actually plays a really big role in our gameplay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, these orbs that are kind of swirling around the characters, what are those exactly?
So that is actually like a companion character called a sylph, and it actually is a embodiment of your magical power. You are bonded with this creature as you manifest in our world. And you will actually pick an element very, very specific, and that element will stick with you. But in our game, you can switch classes too. but your element will always stay with you. But this character will also talk to you, give you guidance. Like if you're lost, it'll be like a little counterpoint, maybe comedic relief. But this is just a character that makes you feel at home. You're never alone in our world. And you'll be able to customize it into a variety of different forms, like as a little magical cat, a little dragon, a little puppy, whatever cosmetic you want. It'll be a way to play for players to express themselves. And what is that glowing tree?
What is this? It looks like a beacon to Kabalmat's lair. Is that the dungeon entrance, maybe?
But that he sounds like a very nice person who wants to invite us in for tea. What do you think?
Well, I could always do some tea.
Yep, I'm thirsty. Let's go. This isn't ominous at all.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah, does he look friendly?
Looks like me after, a day without a shower, so maybe not so friendly. But
it's a trap.
Is this like a procedurally generated dungeon, or are the dungeons kind of consistent between all the different shards?
So this is actually a crafted space. And that's kind of our intent, is like the boss battles, like they're going to be a thing and you're going to have to know how to deal with them. You know how when you hit Nuxramus or hitting Onyxia, like you had to understand her gameplay, and having that be way too variable makes it really hard to solve for a big group of people. And the challenge is the coordination between the players, not necessarily the boss itself. And that's where the fun really comes from. So we actually really believe in having game designers craft really epic encounters. So this is an example of a boss battle, and I dare you to Leroy Jenkins this thing.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. Here we go.
Let's see how we do. I believe in us.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
I'm taking some damn.
I think we've got one healer. This will go fine. Uh-oh. So he's got an AoE stun, as you can see, and he can interrupt casting. It's not so good. Also, we don't want him to run. We really don't want him to run. There's groups of mobs on either side.
Oh, God, okay.
There's going to be some serious ads. And what I wouldn't give for sound effects right now, I'm telling.
No. Taunting.
Uh-oh. Tom, don't die.
Does he have like a cleave maybe, or because everyone's taking damage?
You have a cleave, or you have an execute style ability.
Okay.
Get him down under 20% and maybe you can get him.
All right.
I think that's position number 4. Oh, I think we've got the jump on him though. Brian's killing it as our healer. Well done.
He's running. Come back.
Oh no! Get back here.
Nice.
Yay! Woo!
All right, I'm ninjaing all the loot.
Oh, we don't have a loot rolling in yet. I actually did that system on WoW. It was like one of my first things that I installed in the UI.
Nice.
And also the indicator that it was epic loot, the little dragon. It's my first texture I checked in.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's our boss fight. How did that feel to play?
That felt good. Again, this is this might be a hot take, but I'm very much a big fan of tap targeting combat. And maybe it's because I'm a boomer at this point, but I love it. I think it's, I'm surprised that more games don't go for tap targeting, especially like collaborative games. So it's very reminiscent, of WoW, and I prefer that. That's like my comfort zone. So I like it. I liked, I noticed that the boss would drop aggro every once in a while. I used my taunt ability, kept my defense debuff up or buff up out of flame. So no, it's super cool.
Awesome, awesome. Oh, and you found the Lost Forester.
Ooh, there you go.
So the coolest part about this is that this is one of our first zones that we were initially developing in, but then we repurposed it into this boss battle. Actually, sorry, we didn't. Jason did, because he's a badass, this man. But you can go through our earlier dev videos and see that, and see the progress of how we've built this game in week by week even. And the amount of progress that this team makes every single week is just mind-blowing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, here's a merchant, even though we don't really want to have gold. That's another dogmatic topic to discuss with Chris.
I have no gold anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, we got rid of all the gold in the game right before GDC because we're like, we don't want to mislead people.
No gold means no gold buyers or gold sellers. So I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that is our demo. Thank you so much for playing with us. I'm gonna actually switch to if you don't mind having a brief conversation about what did you think?
For sure. Awesome. Okay. I thought it was cool. I think there's definitely a big gap in the market for collaborative games like this that also have kind of, again, that mishmash between survival, co-op survival, and MMO elements. For me, WoW Valheim is kind of the ultimate game. If someone were able to kind of create it in that way. I love the combat system. I think it's great. I love the idea of that kind of shared collaborative space that's persistent between you and fellow players, and then at the same time, the kind of unknown of the procedurally generated maps that you can zone into. But I also like that you guys are making the dungeons kind of more curated and crafted, because I agree with you. Procedural generated dungeons, they sound like a good idea, but in theory, but in practice, they end up feeling really generic. You have to simplify them a lot so the experience doesn't become too prohibitive. So it's better to keep something more crafted experience so you can make it a little bit more challenging. I love the idea that you guys are going for stylized, artistic approach. I think that's cool, and yeah, I'm super excited to see more.
Well, and considering that you saw us super early on and invested, how did we do? Are you going to give us a grade on how well we did with that money? On the spot.
For sure. No, for sure. This is exactly where I expected you guys to be a year from now. So the fact that you guys are here right now, less than a year in, is really, really impressive. It feels like the foundation of the game is there. I see where you guys are going with this, which is pretty great. Some of the products that I've invested in, they're much further along, and they're still very early, kind of gray boxing and very small vertical slices. So no, this is the fact that I actually can kind of see the character, abilities, inventory, buildings in the game, shared space, procedural generated space. It's definitely a lot further along than I expected.
That is amazing feedback, and special props to the team for just pulling it out the box, really. This is a team of pros, and every single person on the team has been in code in some way or another, whether or not they were used to that prior, whether they were a leader or one of the boss people, or they were an individual contributor. So I'm continually blown away by what this team is capable of, and they deserve the biggest applause.
Heck yeah, go team! Woo!
Yeah. And thank you so much, Tips, for being on the team and supporting us and helping us kick a little bit more ass every day. Oh, was I supposed to say that? I don't know. This is a family channel.
I'm offended. I want my money back.
Oh God. Oh God. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Just kidding.
All right. Thank you everybody for joining us. We're a little over time, but we really appreciate you joining us this week and every week. Again, join us next week on Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Eastern as we play test what the hell we're going to do next week. Bye.
Awesome. I'll be tuning in. Later, guys.
Yay.
Hit that button and buy a t-shirt with a dragon on it, and that will help us keep making some awesome games. Looks like this. I've already seen a Unleashed t-shirt out in the wild that I wasn't wearing, and I'm super excited about seeing more of them. So yeah, buy a t-shirt.
You can find more information about us at our website, unleashedgames.io.